They found him in the queen's bed, and by morning, his jaw was gone. Osas was a young man from Benin. He was the only child of his parents, and they loved him dearly. His parents were poor farmers, and even though life was hard, they tried their best to care for him. Osas grew up to be a very handsome man, tall, strong, and well-built. People always noticed him when he walked by. But beauty could not feed him. There was never enough food in the house. Most times, there was nothing to eat at all. So, Osas had formed a habit. Every day, after the market woman had packed up and gone home, he would go to the market with an empty bag. He would walk around slowly, picking up leftover corn, half-rotten fruit, broken yams, anything he could find. He didn't mind that others laughed at him. Hunger had no shame. At this time, the king of Benin was an old man named Oba. Though he was aged and weak, he ruled a big town and had many wives, more than 50. Some of them were old like him, but others were young and beautiful. One of the youngest was Queen Egbe. She was full of life and beauty. Her skin glowed, her eyes sparkled, and her smile could melt stone. But Queen Egbe was not happy. She had been married to a man who was old enough to be her grandfather. She didn't love him. She longed for someone younger, that someone handsome, with smooth skin and a strong chest. One evening, she called her maid and said, "Go into town. Go to the market. Walk through every street. Find me a fine young man, tall, strong, and handsome. Bring him to me tonight, quietly. Use the back gate. I will be waiting." The maid walked around the town all day. She looked carefully at every man she passed, but none caught her eye. As the sun began to set, she walked through the nearly empty market. That's when she saw Osas, bent over, picking grains of rice from the dirt. She paused. She looked again. Even in his dirty wrapper and with sweat on his face, the maid saw the strength in his arms and the sharpness of his jawline. She knew right away that he was the kind of man her queen would want. She walked up to him and said softly, "Young man, my queen saw you and likes you. She wants to see you tonight. Come to the palace when it is dark. Use the side door. She will be waiting." Osas stood up slowly and looked at her. "The queen?" he asked. "Me?" He was shocked and afraid. "What if the king finds out?" "I will be killed," he said. But the maid smiled. "No one will know. Just trust me. Come quietly. You will not regret it." After much thinking and many questions, Osas finally agreed. That night, he crept to the palace, heart pounding, and knocked softly on the queen's side door. Queen Egbe opened it herself. She was wearing fine clothes, silk, gold, and beads that danced when she moved. Her smile widened when she saw him. "You came," she said gently. "You are even more handsome up close." She led him inside, called her maid to bring clean water, soap, oil, and a fresh wrapper. After he washed and changed, Osas looked like a prince. The queen clapped her hands in joy. She served him good food and wine, then pulled him close and held him all night. The next morning, Osas got up early to leave. But Queen Egbe said, "No. Don't go yet. Stay with me a little longer." She hid him inside her room during the day, and only brought him out at night. She gave him new clothes, food, and a soft mat to sleep on. Days passed, then weeks. He stayed for 2 whole weeks, and though he missed his mother, the queen begged him not to leave. At last, Osas insisted. "My mother will be worried. Let me go home." Queen Egbe agreed, but she didn't want him to go empty-handed. She gathered 50 people to carry gifts. 10 of them carried 300 rods, money, and 40 carried yams, pepper, salt, tobacco, oil, and fine cloth. When the gifts reached Osas's mother, she was amazed. She hugged her son tightly and said, "You are blessed. Look at your skin. Look at your clothes. You are glowing, my son." But when he told her about the queen, her smile faded. "Oh," she said, "this is dangerous. If the king finds out, they will not spare you." Still, Osa stayed home for a month, helping on the farm, resting and enjoying peace. But Queen Egbe missed him badly. She sent her maid again. Osas returned to the palace under cover of night. Queen Egbe was overjoyed. For days they lived in secret joy again. But something had changed. The slaves who had helped carry the gifts had told others about Osas. News spread quickly. Soon, the king's guards heard the story and decided to investigate. One night, they burst into Queen Egbe's room and found her lying beside Osas. They ran to the king at once and told him what they had seen. The king's face turned red with anger. He ordered that Osas be tied up immediately. He summoned all the people to the palace court the next morning and called 8 Osho men to attend with sharp machetes. The court was full. The air was heavy. The king shouted, "This man has slept with my wife. Let him be punished." The Osho men took Osas deep into the forest. They tied him to a tree. He begged for mercy, but they said nothing. Then one of them stepped forward with a sharp knife and cut off his lower jaw. They carried the bloody piece back to the king. When Queen Egbe heard the news, she cried for 3 days without stopping. She tore her clothes and refused to eat. Her sadness made the king furious. He called the Osho men again. "Take her. Take her maid too. Do to them as you did to the boy," he said. So the Osho men dragged Queen Egbe and her maid into the bush. There, tied to the same tree, Osas was still alive but barely. He was weak, bleeding, and in pain. They tied the queen to another tree. She had no strength to speak. Then, just as they had done to her lover, they cut off her jaw. The maid screamed in terror. They grabbed her and pushed her against a tree. They did not cut her jaw, but they took out both her eyes. Then they left all 3 of them there, to die slowly, alone. When the king returned to his throne, he passed a new law. From now on, he said, no one from Osas's family must enter the market on market days. And no one must ever pick up scraps from the ground again. "But what about the dogs and the vultures?" someone asked. The king replied, "Let them be. They are not human. They will not steal my queens." And that, they say, is why, even today, you still see vultures and dogs eating leftovers in the market, but never people.